Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTG Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is Gruul Dinosaurs for Ixalan Standard. Alright guys, this is finally my first Dinosaurs deck and foray into the Ixalan format with dinosaurs. And I gotta say, it's kind of fun. It's not necessarily Niosaurs, so it's not red, green, and white. It's just red and green, but it's very, very fast, very low to the ground, and we can get our dinosaurs out by turn 3 pretty effectively. For pretty cheap. But before we get into the video, guys, make sure to hit the like on the button if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course hit the bell next to the subscription button so you know when we upload a video and when we go live on stream, since we stream right here on YouTube. But let's get right into the cards. We have Drover of the Mighty here, a 2-mana 1/1 mana dork. Drover of the Mighty gets +2/+2 as long as you control a dinosaur, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So a very efficient mana dork that also becomes a 3/3 in the mid to late game. So incredibly powerful, very impactful, and one of the reasons that you probably outpace your opponent because of your growing percentage of damage being on the field. But that's it for this guy. Moving on to a Tepic Huntmaster, I think that's how you pronounce it. It is a 2-mana 1/2 human shaman. Dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast, which is already fantastic since we have Drover of the Mighty making things cheaper on turn 2, and a Tepic Huntmaster makes it even cheaper on turn 3. So you can actually tap it as well, and target dinosaur gains haste until end of turn, which means basically if this guy is on the field too, it makes your dinosaurs cheaper and it gives them immediate haste because you want to be tapping this guy instead of attacking with him. So both Huntmaster and the Drover of the Mighty are both amazing cards as far as like building your board quickly and getting your dinosaurs to attack immediately. But after those 8 creatures, that is it for mana dorks basically. So moving on from this, we have 4 Deathgorge Scavenger. This is a 3-mana 3/2 dinosaur. Whenever Deathgorge Scavenger enters the battlefield or attacks, you may exile target card from a graveyard. If a creature card is exiled this way, you gain 2 life. If a non-creature card is exiled this way, Deathgorge Scavenger gets +1/+1 until end of turn. If you guys have been listening to the channel for a while, during preview season I was like, Deathgorge Scavenger isn't that good. In actuality, it's so good, thanks to the Godfrey gift decks, the Eternalized, and the Embalm mechanics, as well as any kind of other graveyard interaction that's in the set. So Deathgorge Scavenger is great, as well as having passive life gain and an ability to kind of shut down the Scarab God, which is right now one of the most powerful cards in Standard. Playing out a Deathgorge Scavenger on turn 3 is actually quite good. But moving on from Deathgorge Scavenger, we have 4 Ripjaw Raptor, a 4-mana 4/5 dinosaur with Enrage, and whenever Ripjaw Raptor is dealt damage, draw a card. So this is a card that I'm not necessarily in love with for the Enrage mechanic for drawing a card. It does give us card advantage, which is great, but a 4/5 for 4, technically 3 or 2, thanks to our other creatures in our hand, our deck. That's what I'm really playing this guy for. But the off chance of being able to draw a card with his Enrage mechanic is also very good too. So Ripjaw Raptor is great as a 4/5 in the deck, super effective and super fast, again, because we have the Huntmaster giving things haste. But moving on from the Raptor, we have 4 Regisaur Alpha. This is like our dinosaur king right here. This is a 5-mana 4/4 dinosaur. Other dinosaurs you control have haste, and when it enters the battlefield, you create a 3/3 dinosaur token with trample. And it also has haste because the Alpha gives everything else haste. I would say Regisaur Alpha is probably the most powerful dinosaur in the format right now, besides probably the Scavenger or Carnage Tyrant. And there's obviously Carnage Tyrant in the deck too, but Regisaur Alpha here is just so powerful because it comes down, it's a 4/4 and a 3/3, and that 3/3 can attack immediately, and all your other cards that you play that following turn can be played as well. So Regisaur Alpha can be a 3-drop for us, or even a 2-drop, depending on how our mana dorks are coming out in the game. It's just super powerful, guys. It's hard to beat. But the top of our curve in the deck, we have 2 Carnage Tyrant. This is a main board 6-mana 7/6 dinosaur. It can be countered, and it has Trample and Hexproof. This card is insanity. So the only ways that they can get rid of it is if they double our Devastation, if they settle the Wreckage, if they Doomfall us, and it's the only card in the field. So it's very difficult to get rid of. There are a couple answers to get rid of it, but again, it's just so difficult once it hits the board on like turn 4 or 5 thanks to our mana dorks. So Carnage Tyrant is super impactful, and it can probably win the game by itself if it's not dealt with immediately. It represents a 3-turn clock, and that is something nobody wants to be dealing with. But that is it for creatures. We only have 22 in the deck. Let's move on to Planeswalkers real quick. We have 2 Chandra Torch of Defiance. This is our 4-mana 4 loyalty Planeswalker, 4 ability Planeswalker. Chandra is amazing. I know it's probably the most expensive card in the deck, but it does so many things for us, as in giving us more mana to be able to play our spells more quickly, exiling cards to be hopefully playing our spells like a Braid or a Lightning Strike from our deck, or it can just deal 4 damage to another creature creature that's giving us a hassle. So I think that's great. And of course, if you get Chandra to her ultimate, it's stupid. Just know that if you can ultimate with Chandra, you're probably going to win the game outright. So Chandra is incredibly powerful for that, and that's why she is in the deck. But moving on to spells, we have 4 Commune with Dinosaurs, a 1 green mana sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a dinosaur or land card from among them and put them into your hand, but the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So this is a great way to tutor out any kind of dinosaurs that are on the top of your deck, or if you're looking for some land, because it also hunts for that. So this is why it's a great limited card, but also in this deck, it's amazing because we can actually get the exact dinosaur we need at the moment we need it. So Commune with Dinosaurs is perfect in this deck. It helps us kind of ramp to what we want to do. So the only bad thing about it is we can't get either the Drover of the Mighty or the Huntmaster because those aren't dinosaurs, which is a little sucky. But if we have those guys in our opening hand, we should be fine. Moving on from Commune with Dinosaurs, we have 2 Abrade. Again, Gear Hulks, Godfield's Gift decks, any kind of artifacts, Heart of Kirin, things like that are still a total pain in the butt in Standard right now, and Abrade's going to be dealing with that. Or we can just use it to deal 3 damage to a target creature to get it out of the way, or trade up or down depending on the attack phase we're going into. So I think Abrade's very good for this deck, and it's a great simple play. Moving on from Abrade though, we have 2 Lightning Strike. Of course, this is a great way to end a game either by attacking into the dome for 3 or pinging down a Planeswalker for 3, or we can just ping an opponent's creature for 3. And for 2 mana for an instant, you can't beat it. It's super good. It's not Lightning Bolt, but Lightning Strike will do just fine. And moving on to the last 4 cards in the main board besides land, we have 4 Savage Stomp. This card is so good. It's 3 mana sorcery. Savage Stomp costs 2 mana less to cast if it targets a dinosaur you control. So basically it's 1 mana for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, then that creature fights target creatures you don't control. Because we have so many powerful dinosaurs in the actual deck, Savage Stomp is basically going to make our dinosaur more powerful and also just destroy a creature on their side of the field. So it's basically a removal spell for us in green. Savage Stomp is something that if you draw into it and you have a board full of creatures or dinosaurs, it's going to be like happy day. Like, it's stupid. But that is it for spells in the main board. Let's go over lands real quick. We have 2 Hashep Oasis. This is a great way to pump our creatures that have trample and can kind of get in for either game-ending damage or maybe trade up against a Torrential Gear Hulk or Verdurous Gear Hulk, things like that. But that's why this is in this deck. Then we have 2 Raminap Ruins. Again, this is another way to chip down our opponent to make sure we can kind of finish the game as quickly as we possibly can. And then moving on from that, we have 1 Scavenger Grounds. Godfield's Gift decks are a pain in the butt, and Bomb and Eternalize, those are also pains in the butt. Any kind of a graveyard interaction is going to be difficult to deal with. So having 1 Scavenger Grounds in here when we know we don't have any graveyard interaction ourselves is quite good. So moving on from that, we have 4 Rootbound Crag. Again, this is a Gruul deck, a red-green deck, and that's why we have 4 of the new Ixalan Rootbound Crag reprint. I love that art too. It's right behind us on the background as well, but that's a great card for us. We also have 2 Sheltered Thicket. This was actually a spot here for Aether Hub for a while because it could tap for either or as well, but I think Sheltered Thicket is great just in case we want to have some cycling power to be able to discard this card and draw a new card in the mid to late game, because kind of getting into too much mana in this deck is a little bit of a bad thing because you have so many mana dorks that make everything so much cheaper, but thanks to Sheltered Thicket, we can just cycle it away and get a new card. And of course, the last 13 cards in the deck, we have 6 Mountain and 7 Forest. And that is it for the full 60. Basically, our Game 1 game plan is to be able to play out our mana dorks and then play out our dinosaurs as quickly as possible and just overwhelm them with our powerful board state and then just kind of going for the win. But let's say we're playing up against a more control-heavy strategy or a more aggressive strategy where it's a little bit faster than us, or a more heavy removal strategy. What can we do in the game 2? So let's go into the sideboard here. We have 2 Chandra's Defeat. This is going to help deal with any kind of Chandra mirror match, any kind of Glory Bringer situation, anything that's in red that we do not like. And that's exactly what this is supposed to be doing. But moving on from Chandra's Defeat, we have 2 Life Goes On. This is a great way to kind of combat Raminap Red or any kind of burn strategy. So Life Goes On is a 1 mana instant. You gain 4 life, and if a creature died this turn, you gained 8 life instead. So if you guys noticed yesterday, I played a Grixis Amulet Riches deck, which is basically a deck where you can actually cut and then ribbons for like 15 damage to their life points. Life Goes On is a great way to combat that. We could possibly have a creature die this turn and gain 8 life and still survive after they cast their giant like game-ending spell. So Life Goes On is great for that. And as long as we kind of keep the match going, I think that dinosaurs can eventually just kind of overtake our opponent. So that's why this is in the sideboard. Moving on from that though, we have 2 Magma Spray. There are like a lot of cards that have lots of recursion. So we have Champion of Wits, we have Scrap Heap Scrounger, anything else within Embalm and Eternalize. We don't want going to the graveyard, so we're going to use Magma Sprays to kind of get rid of them and make sure that they do not get Eternalized and back onto the field. So a great way to handle a Godfrey's Gift deck and any kind of graveyard interaction. So fantastic for that. Moving on from that, we have 2 Heroic Intervention. So this is a great way to make sure that if they try to fumigate us, try to Bantu/Reckoning in a control strategy, we have a Heroic Intervention to make sure that our creatures survive the turn. This actually does not work against a Settle the Wreckage, so swing into a white deck at your risk. But Heroic Intervention is super good at being able to make sure that our creatures can survive for a turn if we have the ability to do that. So Heroic Intervention is great for that. Then moving on from that, we have 2 Rampaging Ferocidon. So a 3-mana 3/3 dinosaur with Menace. Players gain life, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield, Rampaging Ferocidon deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. Now, one thing about this card we want to make sure is Rampaging Ferocidon is probably going to come in at the same time that Life Goes On comes in, and the reason is because we want to be racing our opponent, but also gaining life as well. So this is a great card to race. This is a great card to kind of fight against a strategy where they're going to be gaining a lot of life. So any kind of blue-white token strategy, Rampaging Ferocidon is going to completely shut that down to where they're completely locked down at 15, 16 life, where we can continue to attack in with our giant dinosaurs for the win. Moving on from Rampaging Ferocidon, though, we have 2 Sweltering Suns. Again, a lot of the creatures in our actual strategy are above 3 toughness because they're all dinosaurs, except for our Mana Dorks, of course. But once we get into the mid to late game, where we have a large, wide board state of dinosaurs, we can just Sweltering Suns without really worrying about it and still destroy our opponent's entire board state. So if we're up against a token-heavy strategy or a small-to-the-ground strategy like Ramming Up Red or anything like that, Sweltering Suns is going to be a great way to handle that pretty effectively. And if we don't need it, we can always just cycle it away. So Sweltering Suns is good for that too. Moving on from this, we have of course, we're in red mana, so we have Glorybringer. It's a dragon, not a dinosaur, but it's okay, don't sue me. Glorybringer is an amazing red card for us. It's a 5-mana 4/4 flying haster, and whenever it attacks, you can Gazert it, and if you do, you can deal 4 damage to target non-dragon creature and opponent controls. So if we have a problem about getting over creatures, Glorybringer is going to definitely come in. And if we also have a problem about maybe having to deal with a control strategy or like another strategy where they have a lot of removal on their side of the field for sorcery speed removal, Glorybringer is going to help deal with that as well. So it's just a super fun card and super effective in fighting the strategy to win. And the last card in the sideboard for us, we have Verdant Sun's Avatar. This is a 7-mana 5/5 dinosaur avatar. This is a card I continually took in and took out for another Lightning Strike, but whenever Verdant Sun's Avatar or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So if you're up against a strategy where you're losing life really quickly in the match, Verdant Sun's Avatar is a great way to gain some life over and over again, so you can actually continue on with the match and play out your big bombs without really worrying about your life total as much. So there's only 1 of in the deck because it is 7 mana, and it does make it cheaper thanks to our Mana Dorks on our side of the field, but Verdant Sun's Avatar is a huge Tippo swing and bomb in the mid to late game. So that is the full 75. Let me go to the list here for you guys so you can see the full layout. The deck is, again, all about playing out your Mana Dorks as soon as you possibly can, then playing out your Scavengers, then playing out your Raptor, then playing out your Alpha, and then if you can get your Carnage Tyrant out or a Chandra for the win, then that is exactly what you want to do. And in game 2, of course, we want to be being a little bit more effective with life gain or shutting down our opponent's life gain, as well as maybe being able to clear our opponent's board state out with some Sweltering Suns, things like that. So one thing I did want to think about putting in here that might want to be put in here instead of a Magma Spray or a Life Goes On is probably an Hour Devastation. That's one thing that is really a hassle against a Hazard the Fervent strategy. However, against the mono red strategy I kept running into, I really didn't find it to be that annoying because our strategy is going so wide so quickly as well. So having them attack in for 5 or just blocking with a Raptor to draw a card or blocking with a Tyrant straight up because we can actually block those guys is fine for us. Do keep that in mind whenever you're building your sideboard. As always, this is always just a suggestion, but this is kind of what I came to for my sideboard. That is it for the video, guys. If you liked it, of course, like the video, and of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell right beside that to know when we upload a new video or go live on stream, because we stream right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video.